Hello, hello. Am I on? Let's see. Chat, can you hear me? Let me see. Hi, Conrad. Thank you, John Grimes. It means a lot. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. All right, here we go. Bane, Monkey. Nice to see you guys. Hope you're all having an excellent night. We are here today to celebrate 5,000 subscribers. I think you guys can see Fumi in the bottom left. She is officially here. She's here to celebrate. Hey, Forest Bomber. Good to see you. So, I'm going to just chat for a while and let more people who maybe are a little late show up, or whoever else. White Boy Summer, yeah, that's right. So today, guys, I'm going to be talking about future plans for the channel, some of the upcoming projects I'd like to discuss, and see what you guys have to say about it, and maybe we can talk a bit about what kind of content you would like to see in the future. Because now we have the audience to where we can really start reaching out to the rest of YouTube, I hope. So the world is our oyster, and I'm looking forward to it. Sneeds or chucks? I don't know what those things are. Thank you, Denny. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the plans that I have, well, to get this started. Some of the main content that I am considering going forward is, number one, historical analyses. I think we could use some good videos on history and some videos on maybe some lesser talked about history, or some perspectives on history that we don't hear much. One of the subjects that I'm thinking about is the Crusades. I think the Crusades would be a very good topic to broach. The Essex Revolution. The SX, what is SX? I'm always interested in revolutions, but I'm not sure what you mean by SX. But the Crusades, especially the First Crusade, the Sex Revolution. Well, I talk about the Sex Revolution a lot in my videos, so I don't know if another video would really be necessary, but I think most of us know the harm of the sexual revolution. But I think the Spanish Inquisition could be a good subject. I think a lot of the interwar period in World War II, that's a very under-talked about aspect of history, I think, that a lot of people don't talk about. And what I mean by interwar period is, the interwar years. The interwar period, yeah, this right here. This is a very underrated aspect of history, I think. After the First World War and before the Second World War. I think you could really get a lot of good perspectives on this. A lot of under-talked about stuff. Like, did you know that the Soviets invaded Poland? Not a lot of people know that. Do you know that France invaded Germany? Do you know that there was a theocratic government installed in Austria? The Spanish Civil War obviously was going on. Germany had a communist revolution that was put down. And of course you had Adolf Hitler doing the beer hall push and all that. So there was a lot of interesting stuff going on during that time that I think could be potentially good topics for a video. Yeah, exactly. The Weimar degeneracy was hardcore during that time. Yeah, how the National Socialists conquered the Weimar. Yeah, that could be a good subject, but I don't know if YouTube would like it. The Paris Commune, yeah, that was definitely a critical event. Christendom, yeah, Christendom is good, but that's a very long, broad subject. The beer hall push is really interesting. That's a very interesting and very relevant, I would say. But John Money, yeah, yeah. Well, ER, his little short on John Money, I don't think that could be topped. ER talking about John Money, that's about as good as it gets. He really tears that whole thing wide open. Yeah, the Northern Crusades against the Baltic. Yeah, that's definitely worth looking into. The Reconquista, yeah. Because I feel like a lot of people don't even know that Iberia had Muslim occupation. I don't even know if a lot of people know that about that period of history. The Reconquista, yeah. You know, I hate to use Wikipedia, but they at least give you this. This is at least useful. Yeah. How many people even know that Spain was conquered by Muslims for something like 500 years until they finally started getting pushed out? Very underrated aspects of history. So I might be looking at these kind of things in future videos. If you guys like that kind of stuff, definitely let me know. Message me. Some of the other things that I've been thinking about doing are more anime analyses. If you guys have good animes you'd like me to take a look at, definitely suggest them, message me. And when it comes to animes, the more recent, the better. I definitely want to be looking more towards more modern ones. Ones that have come out at least in the last 5 years. So, obviously, Demon Slayer is extremely popular. I haven't seen it, but I hear it's quite good. You can message me on my email, which should be in my YouTube description. You can message me at that email. I do check it from time to time. And of course, you can also message me on Discord and Instagram. Those are the places. I would say Twitter, but Twitter is unreliable for those who know the whole story. Reactionary conservatism. That's one way to call it, I guess. Rhodesia. Yeah, Rhodesia is pretty interesting. And a lot of those African countries that experienced, I guess we could call anti-colonial revolutions, they're definitely relevant to modern times, I guess you could say, because we're kind of experiencing modern versions of such things. Yep. Rest in peace. Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe. Yeah, he's bad news, to say the least. Lukewarm Christianity. Yeah, there's definitely something that could be... There's definitely a lot that could be said about that. The Colombian protest. I've heard about it, but I'm not exactly sure what the story behind it is. Colombia, all those South American countries typically have a lot of bad shit going on. TikTok Christian pastors, God have mercy. They are a mess, to say the least. I've seen them. Trust me, I've seen them. Like, if do I dare look this up? Let's see here. I don't even want to look at these. Crazy Christians are taking over TikTok. Says the fat non-Jewish person, or non-Christian. I meant, slip of the tongue there. Non-Christian person. Yeah, guys. I don't know about... We know how bad they are. Let's see. Yu-Gi-Oh? I liked Yu-Gi-Oh when I was, 12 years old. I didn't... But the other thing I'm thinking about doing a video on is Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings could be a great video topic. Especially with Amazon coming out with its own Lord of the Rings series. I feel like Lord of the Rings could be a great piece of media to look back on and analyze why it was good. And I think there are a lot of strong Christian messages in Lord of the Rings that are very, very timeless. And we really don't see in media much these days. Like, Lord of the Rings was really... We're going to get to this. Lord of the Rings... Let's see. This was, in my opinion, a one-of-a-kind film franchise. You really don't get stuff like this these days. Yeah, Amazon is going to butcher it, which is why I think what I'm going to plan to do is I'm going to do a video on the Lord of the Rings as it was, the film franchise. And then when the new series comes out, I'll do some videos on the new series. I think that's a really good way to do it. And we can compare and contrast what makes a good Christian story versus what I'm sure will be the multicultural abomination that Amazon is going to put out. Yeah, Amazon is going to make the characters, black wheelchair Antifa Redditors. Yeah, that's one way to put it. But really, the original Lord of the Rings franchise in the early 2000s, I think the early 2000s, even though obviously we had a lot of negative cultural aspects of that time period, like birth control was obviously very normal, all the typical sexual degeneracy was already normalized. Although LGBT was still like 50% of the country approved, 50% didn't approve. So that hadn't completely exploded yet in the early 2000s. But you could still make media back then that could actually have a kind of I don't know if we could say pro-white, but certainly respectful of European culture. Certainly respectful of like Christian traditional culture. You could say the Lord of the Rings kind of really tapped into that. And I think I could really expand upon that in a video. And I don't think you can make... And they could also do it with an all-white cast, by the way. They could do it with an all-white cast. That is something that, obviously, Amazon's not going to do. Quite the opposite. And so I saw someone ask, was Tolkien based? Yes, he was based. On my Telegram, I posted one of his quotes the other day, where we can see why he is based. He was against modernism. He was against globalism. He was Catholic, obviously, and he integrated the Catholic faith into his work. There's very, very Christian themes and storytelling in Lord of the Rings. So I think this will be probably, if not the next video I make, it's definitely on the schedule. We're going to have Lord of the Rings analysis video. Also, if my internet cuts out, I've been having a couple internet issues. So if this stream randomly ends, it's just because of my internet. So don't worry about that. I'm not sure what's going on with it, but hopefully it'll last for the rest of this stream. He was against industrialism, yeah. Yeah. Tolkien was a big respecter of wildlife, the environment. He was kind of Kaczynski before Kaczynski, you could say. He was Kaczynski pilled. Exactly. Tolkien took Northern European pagan elements and he integrated them with Christianity, and he created really a great adult fantasy story. So, let's see. What else did I want to say? Let's see. I'm considering for the future. I will most likely be setting up a subscribe star, so that will enable people who want to financially support the channel. You'll have an easy way to do so, and you'll also be able to vote in polls on what kind of stuff you want me to do, because at the moment for this channel, I am the sole writer, conceptualizer, voice, editor, and basically everything that comes out of this channel I do by myself. So if there are polls to help me pick, what the popular topics are, that'll help me get videos out faster. So that's something I'm looking forward to in the future. You'll also get other benefits, which I'm currently working on. Obviously, some of that's going to be in the Discord. One thing I'm considering starting in my Discord is a book club. I think we might have a book club soon. And we will look at some classical literature, maybe some Christian literature, some right-wing literature. We can support some of our other right-wing writers, especially when they get deplatformed, like Jared Taylor, E. Michael Jones. They get kicked off Amazon Books. Maybe we could read some of their work. What generation am I in? I am a millennial. I am not Gen Z. I am a millennial. I'm not sure which generation is more paused, but they're definitely both in the running. Let's see. Yeah, this is me. Let's see here. Yeah, Gen Z. Wow, we're already in Generation Alpha being born, huh? I didn't know Generation Z ended that early. Yeah, I am a millennial. What are most of you guys? I see most of my audiences, they're around millennial. I think most of my audience is around my age. Separation of church and state. Yeah, that's a good video. That could be a good video topic. Especially considering, wow, you guys are all Gen Z. All right, I can work with that. Base Zoomers. Great to see, great to see. But we have our millennials, good. Yeah, born in 2003 and already old. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Time flies. It's crazy to me that people born in 2003 are already 18. Or most of them. That's pretty wild. Am I a paleocon? I'm a bit more right-wing than a paleocon. But I respect paleocons. I think I probably share the most in common with them of any of the conservative groups. I don't really put myself in a particular ideology, I just say I follow the truth, and whatever the truth lines up with, that's the political position I like to take. I don't subscribe to any particular label or ideology or something like that. What do I think about Nick Fuentes? I like Nick. I think he does good work for the most part. I'm not going to throw shade on him. The only thing I think that would really... when I first found Fuentes, it was actually quite refreshing because I thought, here's someone who finally, after all these conservatives that you listen to online, he was someone who really, I think, lined up a lot more with me than the average conservative lines up with me. But where me and Fuentes probably break is on Trump. I think Fuentes still really has a thing for Trump that I think we need to move past. I think Trump. I dislike a lot of things about Trump that I think we need to. But we need to not fall into the same mistakes, which would be just supporting Trump endlessly, basically. Like, even beyond his policies, I think Trump is very unlikable. I think he turns people against him who would otherwise be on his side just because of his obnoxious personality. On top of that, obviously, Trump, he pays lip service to the right wing, but then when he actually is in power and he has a chance to do things for us, he enacts the, what's his son-in-law's name? What's his name? This is the problem with live streaming, you blank out. It's Kushner. Yeah, when he's in power, he enacts the Kushner agenda, but he pays lip service to us, that's it. Yeah, exactly, Kushner. So no, I'm not. I got off the Trump train some time ago, and Fuentes is still on the Trump train, and I think that's one of the things that separates us. But I like Fuentes beyond that. Yeah, he was a neocon at the end of the day. Plus, the other problem with Trump was, and this is why actually I didn't vote for him in 2016. Let's go for this here real quick. I never really saw Trump as a true right-winger from the beginning. Why? Because of this. Let's see. Here we go. Here, can I get this? Let me try to find what I'm looking for here. Yeah. Keep in mind, this is the Republican National Convention in 2016. Obviously, like, I'm not supporting terrorism here. I'm just saying, here, we'll get to the really bad part. Here we go. This is it. So, oh, no sound? Oh, geez. Okay. My bad. All right, I see now. Oh, God. How do I do this? How do we activate this? Okay, well, I'll just tell you what he says. He says, we will protect the LGBT community. I will do everything in my power to protect the LGBT community, is what he says. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know how to make it have sound. Actually, that's kind of important. Let me see how I can do this. But anyway, Trump at the time was basically pro-LGBT. And he really played a pivotal part in helping shift the Republicans towards more a pro-LGBT stance, I guess you could say. Which is pretty... Not gonna work. Not gonna work. What else do I expect him to say? I expect him to not even talk about it. Why even talk about it? Just stay out of the LGBT issue, or condemn it. The fact that he came out and endorsed it effectively is terrible. And then, of course, there was also him saying that he said that Bruce Jenner, or Caitlyn Jenner, however you want to call it, he said that he could use whatever bathroom he wanted at Trump Tower, basically endorsing transgenderism in using whatever bathroom they want. That was another. Condemning it wouldn't be public suicide, though. He's running for the Republican He was running for the Republican nomination. If you're trying to get votes from Republicans, you don't have to be pro-LGBT. So, yeah, I apologize for the sound. I've never, let me see. I'll try to fix this real quick. Give me a moment. So we have the mic. Let's see. Okay, here we go. This should hopefully... Let's see if that does it. Okay, how about this? Could you guys hear that? Yeah, I am on OBS. You hear it? Okay, good. All right. Issue solved. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. It's barely 5 years old, and he endorsed it in its fledgling stages. Exactly. Okay. All right, thank you, gentlemen, for helping me fix that. All right, thoughts on Charlottesville? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked. Let me see if I can pull up the thread here. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. I did a thread on the recent drone footage of Charlottesville. Let's see. Here we go. I did a whole thread on the brand new, never seen before footage of the Unite the Right rally that came out 2 days ago. And essentially, it revealed that the rally-goers basically did nothing wrong. And they were railroaded by the Charlottesville police and the New York State Police, or the Virginia State Police. And the authorities were the ones who turned it into a catastrophe. You had violent leftists, violent communists attacking the rally-goers, and they really just defended themselves. My opinion on Homestuck, I do not know off the top of my head what it is. But the main takeaways from Charlottesville are this. When you go out in the open these days as right-wing people, you have to understand that the establishment and the violent left-wing mob are working together. You have to understand that. They are working together. The mob of leftist degenerates will attack you, and the police will let them do it. And if you defend yourself, the police will arrest you. And the media will portray you defending yourself as going on the offense. That's what they did to the Unite the Right people. Here, let me drink real quick. So, when you go out in public to demonstrate or to rally, you have to keep these things in mind. The police legally do not have to defend you. So they legally have no obligation to defend you. But they will also arrest you if you defend yourself. So it's really a lose-lose situation. And to be fair to the organizers of Charlottesville, this wasn't really obvious until recently. It really became obvious in the last 5 years that the cops will work with Antifa. That definitely became obvious recently. It was not obvious before. So, Charlottesville really showed us that. Would I suggest they open carry? If it's legal, that could work. But the issue with open carry is you will get these nut jobs who attack you while you're open carrying. And now you have to either shoot or risk them pulling your gun out. And if you shoot, the police are going to arrest you and you're going to get tried. Like it happened in New Mexico. A guy was open carrying and he got attacked by Antifa. Let's see if I can... Let's see. Yeah. I forget the guy's name. They were tearing down a statue and a militia came and they were open carrying. And the Antifa BLM people attacked the militia while they had their guns out. Let's see if we have the video. They attacked them with a knife. So these people are nuts, is the lesson. You could open carry, but they're going to attack you anyway.
On those protests,
they received reports about vigilante groups possibly instigating the violence, who fired chemical irritants and flashbangs to control the crowd.
No, these guys don't have the video. See, this is why I wish I had my old Twitter, because I had the video. It was big at the time. Yeah, let's see. Here we go. See, this guy's armed. Yeah, and he takes him down. So these are the kind of people we're dealing with. They'll attack you if you're armed. It doesn't matter to them. They're nuts. But open carrying might get them to think twice. Yeah, he did good. He did good for himself. Exactly. Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, of course. Rittenhouse is the most clear-cut case of self-defense, and they still paint him as a murderer. And they gave him $2 million bail. He fortunately posted it, was able to get out, but only because of our very kind fundraising efforts to help him. Thoughts on Bronze Age perverts? I don't know that much about him, but based on his name alone, I'm not a fan of perverts. And I think isn't he some kind of pagan or something? He's some kind of he wants to recreate ancient Greek paganism or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think he's a Christian, so I'm skeptical of him for that reason. How do we stop the deterioration of society? Well, that's the golden question, isn't it? That's the golden question. I think we can only stop it one person at a time with ourselves, right? Ourselves and the people closest to us. We have to be the ones to stop the deterioration. And obviously work towards causes that will expand and snowball that over time. Oh, maybe I am. Maybe I'm confusing Bronze Age pervert, but he seems like a decent... He does have some good takes from time to time, but I don't follow him, so I don't know. What's going on, The Ascended? Good to see you. Thanks for showing up. Richard Spencer. He is an interesting character, to say the least. I don't know. When I used to watch Richard Spencer, I've only really watched one thing he did, which was his American Renaissance speech, which I thought was good. He gave a good speech at American Renaissance, but that was 5 years ago. So what has he done really since then? I don't know. I don't watch Richard Spencer. But he definitely had some interesting takes in the 2020 election. He was saying vote for Biden. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think we'd be better off supporting third parties than Biden. I'd rather just go for the third party approach at that point. But I do definitely think Trump was a disappointment, and a second term for him wouldn't accomplish much for people like us. Keith Woods is good. Yeah, I like Keith Woods. He definitely has some He makes some good content. I agree with his... Keith Woods is good because he is helping to popularize on the right a skepticalness of capitalism and a skepticalness of this free market orthodoxy that has permeated conservatism for far too long. When you look at the heat map of where the average Republican voter is, you see, or not just the average Republican, but really the average American, you see that they are what I guess we could call nationalist on economic issues and conservative traditionalist on social views for the most part. They really agree with people like us more than you might think. But the Republican Party is obviously totally free market. They're not nationalist on economics. And while the Democrat Party is a bit more nationalist on economics, ironically, than Republicans, they're far left liberal on social issues. So we're stuck in this terrible situation where both parties are really adopting unpopular positions. We need a party that melds together, or at least a candidate that melds together the populist economic positions with traditional social viewpoints. Tradcath YouTuber, Human Vidya. I mean, I love to see my fellow Tradcaths. Thoughts on Nazball ideology? Well, I was thinking about this earlier today, actually. I'm glad you mentioned it. Is this even a real ideology? National Bolshevik Party? I don't even think this is a real thing. They're a Russian political party. Nazbol, okay, well, there's a Wikipedia article. Combines radical nationalism and Bolshevism. Well, here's my thoughts. Why Bolshevism? Why do we need Bolshevism? I'm all about radical nationalism, but why do we need to meld Bolshevism into it? Huey Long was not a Bolshevik. Yes, I know, Wikipedia. I just have it, all right? Urban Dictionary. Let's see what Urban Dictionary has to say. National Bolshevism seeks to combine extreme far right and extreme far left. The way it does this is extreme left economics and extreme right culturally. But here's the issue. The Bolsheviks were also extreme left culturally. They weren't just extreme left on economics. So why would you want to mix Bolshevism with anything? Bolshevism was about overthrowing a 1,000 years of a czar, 1,000 years of Russian Orthodoxy in the Russian Orthodox Church, instituting a communist government and state atheism. Why would we want to adopt that? I don't want any parts of Bolshevism. So I think Nazbol is stupid. Forget Bolshevism. We don't need any of that garbage. They were anti-God. Exactly. Anti-God. So, congrats. Thank you, Musica. I appreciate it. Pull comp ball wiki. I don't even... Atheism is the worst religion. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, the Bolsheviks were also anti-white. I mean, they killed how many Ukrainians? How many ethnic Russians? And a lot of their leaders were not white. Let's just put it like that. A lot of the Bolshevik leaders were not white, and they killed millions of white people. So I'm not interested in that. Trotskyists coined racism. Did they really? It doesn't surprise me. I know the Soviets created the first hate speech laws. I know that. The first hate speech laws were created by the Soviets. I did not know Trotsky coined racism. Trotsky, aka Bronstein. Did he really? Did he invent racism? Let's see what these people have to say. Oh, what the... These people seem to think he invented it. Let's see. What surprisingly remains almost totally undiscussed is the word's origin. The history of the Russian Revolution, whose Latin translation is racists. This work here is the first time in history one will ever find that word. So Trotsky in the 1930s. Very interesting. Very interesting. You learn something new every day. That's why we're here, folks, to learn. Nietzsche? Or is that how you say it? Nietzsche? Nietzsche? I just say Nietzsche. I think he had some interesting takes, but Nietzsche was atheist. He proclaimed God is dead. He advanced the ideology that God is dead and we must now move past it. I know I say weird. I forget how to, Nietzsche. Yeah, Nietzsche. But he played a part in helping to try to advance a post-Christian world, which I'm not a fan of. Nietzsche, okay. But I think he made some good points in terms of where the atheist world would go with The Last Man. I think he made some interesting points about The Last Man, which is essentially when humanity becomes nihilist because they no longer have God, they will essentially become slaves to materialism. And they'll just live for material comfort. And they won't take risks. They won't try anything. They won't try to advance beyond a really pathetic materialistic existence. And he thought that was a bad thing. And I, of course, agree. But his issue was he could never come up with a system that would avoid that from happening. Because he rejected Christianity, which, of course, Christianity is the truth, and it obviously prevents nihilism. Because if you believe in God, and you believe in a transcendent life beyond this earth, you're not going to become a nihilist. So he was a massive misogynist. Perhaps so. I haven't read it. I haven't read much of him. Davo, good to see you. All right. Thank you, Dysentery. Appreciate it. Do I lift? I do exercise. I do pull-ups mainly. I've always been more of a runner than a lifter myself, personally. But I respect lifters. Water. I'm drinking water. I didn't want to get a dry throat this time, so I got the water. Have I read Julius Caesar by Shakespeare? I have not. But I've read some of Shakespeare's works. Shakespeare is a great author, of course. Great playwright. I'm a jogger. I'm a jogger confirmed. No problem, Dixiecrat. I love the South. I think the South is great. And if the South plays its cards right, they could be the future. They could possibly revive a real America. If they play their cards right and don't succumb to the same forces that the North has. So on this note, I did want to react to a few videos. Let me see here. I was originally going to react to this, but I'm realizing now how long it might be. I might react to a couple PragerU videos instead. This is the history of the entire world. I think people have seen. I think most of you have probably seen this video. It is one of the most watched videos on YouTube. 120 million views. And it basically goes through the highlights of all of history. And I think I have some interesting takes on the different time periods that are covered here. Cringe video? Yeah, I think the beginning is cringe. His takes on prehistory are definitely cringe. This video. Well, it's one of the most watched history videos. One of the most watched history videos. The other alternative I was thinking was PragerU. Maybe we could look at a few PragerU videos and see what they've been up to. I think I could give some good insights on PragerU. PragerU, one of their best lines is, "We're not giving Israel too much. We're not giving them enough. We're not giving them enough." All right, skip the first quarter of the video. I think that's a good idea because they have some cringe takes on what happened before history. Before history started. They say we came from space dust. They definitely they have some Neil deGrasse Tyson takes on the history, the prehistory of the world. But I think we could watch it. I think there are some decent highlights in here worth commenting on. So let's see. We'll skip to the point where they actually start talking about history. All right. Let's start here.
My friend and live near me. Let's all build houses, except mine is bigger because...
So this is obviously prehistory he's still in. This is, we're about to get an ad. But this is, pre-civilization we're still in, where the earliest farms were getting built. So let's see.
This is great. I wonder if anyone else is...
When there's a big war going on somewhere in the universe, that always reflects...
doing this. Tired of using rocks for everything? Use metal. It's underground. Better farming was just invented in a sweet dank valley right in between these two rivers, and the animals are helping. Guess what happens next? More food, and more people who came to buy the food. Now you need people to help make the food and keep track of the sales. And now you need houses for people to live in and people to make the houses. And now there's more people and they invent things, which makes things better. And more people come and there's more farming and more people to make more things for more people. And now there's business, money, writing, laws, power. Society. Coming soon.
So this is obviously the original societies. We know they came from the Middle East, were the most advanced, and obviously the best. Proto-farms, yeah. So Gilgamesh, yeah, this is the Gilgamesh times, and not long after this, we're gonna get the the Abrahamic religions.
To a dank river valley near you. Meanwhile, out in the middle of nowhere, the horse is probably being tamed. Why is all my metal so lame and lumpy? Tired of using lame, sad metal? Introducing bronze, made with special ingredient tin from the far lands of Tinland. I don't know, my dealer won't tell me where he gets it. Also, guess what? Egypt! Meanwhile, out in the middle of nowhere, they figured out how to put wheels on a horse. Now we're getting somewhere. Also, China!
Hyperborea moments with the the horse riders are about to conquer the world from the Eurasian steppe.
And did I mention Indus River Valley Civilization? The Middle East is getting more complicated. Maybe because it's in the middle of the East. Knock knock, or clop clop. It's the people with the horses. And they made an empire. And then everyone else copied their horses.
Yeah, let's look at this real
Clop
quick.
clop. It's the people with the horses. And they made an empire.
The Hittite Empire. This is in the Bible. I believe this is where, with David and Goliath, I believe that's where Goliath came from. He was supposed to be a Hittite. You might have to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure in the story of David and Goliath, this is where Goliath is from.
And then everyone else copied their horses. Greeks! Ah, look, it must be the Greeks, or a beta version of the Greeks. Let's check in with the Indus River Valley civilization. They're gone. Guess who's not gone? China.
I'm not sure what happened to the Indus River Valley civilization. Someone's going to have to red pill me on that. I don't know if they got crushed by the Indo-Europeans or what, but...
New arrivals in India. Maybe it's those horse people I was talking about, or their cousins or something. And they wrote some hymns and mantras and stuff. You could make a religion out of this. There's the Bronze Age collapse. Now the Phoenicians can get down to business. Also, can we switch to a metal that's a little easier to find? Thanks. Look who came back to Israel. It's the 12 tribes of Israel. And they believe in God. Just one, though. He's got like a 10-step program. Here's some...
Yep. The ancient Israelites, that's what it's all about.
Huge heads. Must be the Olmecs. The Phoenicians make some colonies. The Greeks copy their idea and make some colonies. The Phoenicians made a colony so big...
That's right. When people... And this is something important. North Africa... If you notice here...
Olmecs. The Phoenicians make some colonies. The Greeks copy their idea and make some colonies.
Oops. Yeah. So North Africa was heavily colonized by European and Middle Eastern groups. And these come to create a lot of the ethnic groups of North Africa. So idiots who think that North Africa was black or any of that, you're just horribly wrong. The Greeks and the Middle Easterners were colonizing since a long time. 800 BC, I think they said it started. This is Cyrenaica. This is Carthage. Syracuse. Very important.
The Phoenicians made a colony so big it makes colonies. Here comes the Assyrian Empire. Never mind, it's the Babylonian Median. It's the Persian Empire. Wow, that's big. Ah, the Buddha was just enlightened. Who's the Buddha? This guy, who sat under a tree for so long that he figured out how to ignore the fact that we're all dying. You can make a religion out of this. Oops, China just broke, but while it was breaking, Confucius was figuring out how to have good morals. Ah, the Greeks just had the idea of thinking about stuff. And right over here, Alexander just had the idea of conquering the entire Persian Empire. It's a great idea.
So, Alexander, this is another... I mean, if you talk to the average, normie, how many even know that at one point, Europeans controlled all the way to India? How many even know that? I feel like this is very unpopular. I mean, they'll know who Alexander the Great is, but do they really know how big his empire was? This is the kind of stuff that more people should know.
Idea. He was great. And now he's dead. Hopefully the rest of the gang will be able to share the empire evenly between them. Knock knock, it's Chandragupta. He says, get the hell out of here. Will you get the hell out of here if I give you 500 elephants? Okay, thanks, bye. Time to conquer all of India. Or most of India. But what about this part? That's the Tamil Kings. No one conquers the Tamil Kings. Who are the Tamil Kings? Merchants, probably. And they've got spices. Who would like to buy the spices? Me, said the Arabians, swiftly buying it and selling it to the rest of the world. Hey, China put itself back together again, with good morals as their main philosophy. Actually, they have 3 main philosophies. Out here, the horse nomads run wild and free, and they would like to ransack your city.
Great Wall of China coming up.
Let's check the Greekification levels of the Greekified kingdoms. Greekification overload. Bye, said the Parthians. Bye, said the Jews. Hi, said the Parthians, taking over the entire place. Hey, said the Romans, eating the entire Mediterranean for breakfast. Thanks for...
That's obviously an extremely fast-forwarded take of Roman history. That, the Romans did not conquer that fast. or as fast as portrayed in that video. It was a very, very gradual process over centuries. They had the Samnite Wars, then they had the Punic Wars, they beat Carthage, then they conquered Gaul, then they conquered Greece, then Egypt. Very gradual process. It didn't just happen overnight. It took centuries to get all that land.
For invading our homeland, said the Jews, who were starting to get tired of people invading their homeland. Hi, everything's great, said some guy who seems to be getting very popular and is then arrested and killed for being too popular, which only makes him more popular. You can make a religion out of this. Once.
I've seen this before. I like, what kind of description of Jesus is that? What kind of description is
getting very popular?
He says everything is great. That's what Jesus' message is to you. Everything is great. I think his message was a bit more complicated than that.
Starting to get tired of people invading their homeland. Hi, everything's great, said some guy who seems to be getting very popular.
He didn't say everything's great.
And is then arrested and killed for being too popular, which only makes him more popular. You can make a religion out of this. Want silk? Now you can buy it from China. They just made a brand new road to the world.
Keep in mind this Silk Road, very important aspect of history.
Or you can get their own water. Sick, new trade routes, said India, accidentally spreading their religion to the entire southeast. That's a good place for an epic trading kingdom. There goes Buddhism traveling up the Silk Road. I wonder if it'll reach China before it collapses again. Remember the Persian Empire? Yep, said the Persians, making a new one. Axum is getting so powerful they would like to build a long stick. Has anyone populated Madagascar yet? Let's do it together. China's whole again. Then it broke again. Still can't cross the Sahara Desert? Try camels. Hell yeah, now we got business, said the Ghana Empire, selling lots of gold and slaves. Hi, I live in the Roman Empire, and I was wondering, is loving Jesus legal yet? No. Actually, okay, sure, said Constantine, moving the capital way over here to be closer.
Constantine, of course, the emperor who legalized Christianity, and not only legalized it, I don't know if he legalized it. I don't know if that was done before him, but he made it the official religion of the Roman Empire. So, part of the reason I think Christians, even though the Roman Empire persecuted Christianity, I think Christians should have a deep respect for the Roman Empire, because I think in a way, God allowed the Roman Empire to be so successful, so eventually it could be one of the key elements that spreads Christianity. So obviously, the Christianization of the Roman Empire is absolutely critical to Christian and European history. And Constantine is who really catapulted it. He made it more mainstream. There were, of course, Christian movements underground and whatnot, but Constantine really put it on the next level.
To his main rival. Don't worry about Rome, it won't fall. It's the golden age of India. There's the Gupta Empire, not Chandragupta, just Gupta. First name Chandra, the first. Guess who's in Rome? Barbarians. What's a barbarian? Non-Romans, said the Romans, being invaded by non-Romans. R.I.P. Roman Empire. Or actually just half of it. The other half is just fine, but it's not in Rome anymore, so let's give it a new name.
Let me say this about the end of the Roman Empire, or at least the Western Roman Empire. The Western Roman Empire, towards its end, is a lot like how, I guess you could say, our country is now, in a way, where the empire had become corrupted to the point where its own citizens didn't want to protect it anymore. It had crushing taxes. You would get the death penalty if you if you even tried to move out of the land that you were inhabiting. It was forced military service. It got to the point where the empire was more tyrannical than it gave benefits to the people. And that's one of the main reasons why it failed. And of course, there was massive inflation, barbarian attacks. You get the picture. It became a real mess at the end.
Have figured out the stars. Oh, and here's a huge city, population everyone. The Gokturks have taken over the entire Eurasian steppe. Great job, Gokturks. How's India? Broken. How's China? Back together. How's those trading kingdoms? Bigger and there's more of them. Korea has 3 kingdoms. Japan has a kingdom, it's the Sunrise Kingdom.
On 6th of May, 2003.
Deep in the Arabian desert, on the top of a mountain, the real God whispers in.
Muhammad's
here. So he goes down to the cube where everyone worships gods, and he
the real God. Really, this video is biased, man. Biased in favor of Islam.
tells them their gods are all fake. And everyone got so mad at him that he had to leave town and go to a different town. You can make a religion out of this, and maybe conquer the world as well. The Roman Empire's long gone, but somehow the Pope is still the Pope. Plus there's new kingdoms all over Europe. I wonder if there's room for Moors. Here's all the wisdom.
The Moors were an Islamic kingdom that was created by Arab invaders who came through Arabia, then North Africa, and then eventually came all the way to Iberia. They conquered the Visigoths, or I think, what were they? They conquered the Vandals first, and then I don't know if it was the Visigoths or the Ostrogoths. One of the Goths got conquered.
House. It's the Baghdad House of Wisdom, just in time for the Islamic Golden Age. Let's bring stuff to the coast and sell it and become the Swahili on the Swahili coast, said the Swahili on the Swahili coast. Remember this tiny space you have to go through to get from here to there? Someone owns that now. Want to get enlightened in the middle of nowhere? The Franks have the biggest kingdom in Europe, and the Pope is so...
And the Charlemagne. Charlemagne creates a massive empire. He defeats the Islam had spread all the way into Iberia, and it tried to get up into France. But Charlemagne's, what was his name? Charles the Hammer, beat the Muslim invaders and drove them out. Very critical. That definitely, Battle of the Tours, I believe it was. One of the most important battles in European history, without a doubt.
So proud that he invites the king over for Christmas. Surprise, you're the new Roman emperor, said the Pope, pretending to still be part of the Roman Empire. Then the Franks broke their kingdom into what will later be called France and not France. The Northerners, or just Norse if you don't have much time, are exploring. They go north, from the north to the northern north, and they find some land, 2 types of land, and they name them accordingly. They also invade some other places and get called many names, such as Vikings. There's the Rus, the Kievan Rus. Are they Vikings? I don't think so, said the Kievan Rus. Okay, fair enough. The Pope is ready to make some more emperors of the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. It's actually Germany, but don't worry about it. New kingdoms.
Christianize all the kingdoms.
Which brand would you...
What I was going to say about this was, when you think of history, when you think of world history, and you think of, say, 700 AD all the way until about 1000 AD, European history, that was essentially characterized by the creation of all these, with the Roman Empire gone, all these new Christian European kingdoms arose. And many of them became the modern countries we know today. So Poland arrived, the Hungary, France, England, Denmark, and of course the Holy Roman Empire, which was Germany, but it were German people, but they hadn't united for a long time. So many of the different kingdoms we know today have their roots, or the countries we know today have their roots in this time period, 800 AD, 900 AD, 1000 AD.
You like? Mine's better. Mine's better. Mine's better. Time to conquer England, said William. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the Seljuk Turks, said the Byzantine Empire, who's getting so small it almost doesn't exist anymore. We need help. They need help, so they call the Pope. Hey, Pope, can you help us get rid of the Seljuks? Maybe take back the Holy Land on the way? Come on, I know you want to take back the Holy Land. Yes, I do actually want to do that. Let's do a crusade. Crusade! They did many crusades, some of which almost didn't fail, but at least the Italians got some sweet trade deals. Goodbye.
The First Crusade did not fail. The First Crusade was a success. And the Second Crusade, I think, was a semi-success, semi-failure. And I think the Third Crusade was a success. So many of the Crusades were failures, but they weren't total failures. You did have some successes. So if I do a future video on the Crusades, I'll definitely talk about that more.
Goodbye, Mayans. Hello, Toltecs. Goodbye, Toltecs. Hello, Mississippi. Look at those mounds. There's the Pueblo. I always wondered how to build a town in a cliff. Guess who's here? Come here. Where? Here. And Pagan is there. Vietnam unconquered itself, Korea just became itself, and Japan is so addicted to art that the military might have to take over the government. China just invented bombs and typing. And the Mongols just invaded most of the universe. Nice going, Genghis. I bet that will last a long...
Yeah. Mongol Empire. Look at the mass. And they beat the Europeans pretty badly, but really they crushed the Islamic world. I mean, look up, if you ever have spare time, look up the Massacre of Baghdad. If you think Europeans got it bad from the Mongols, you got to look at the Muslims, what they got. The Chinese were pretty brutalized too. Whenever people talk about Europeans and how Europeans were brutal in their wars, please, nothing compared to the Mongols. Nothing compared to what they would do.
Long time. Some of the Islamic Turks were unaffected by the Mongol invasions because they were busy invading India. Is it Tonga time? I think it's Tonga time. I just found out where the Swahili gets all their gold. Look at this Chad. Means lake. There's an empire there, right in the middle of
Chad moment.
The king of Mali is so rich he's going on tour to let everyone know. Wow, that guy's rich, everyone said. The Christians are doing a great job reconquering Iberia, which will soon be called Spain and not Spain. Please remain Christian. We will
Let's go!
check in later to see if you're still Christian when you least expect. Whoops, half of Europe just died. China's back, yay! Hey, come here, time to share. New kingdoms here and there. Oh, look who controls all the islands. It's the Mahajapit, Majapahit, Mapajahit, Mahapajit, Mapajahit, Majapahit. Oh, Italy's really rich. Time for them to care a lot about art and the ancient classics. It's kind of like a rebirth. Here's a printer, let's make books. So you think you can conquer the Byzantine Empire? Yep, said the Ottoman.
The printing press, one of the most history-changing inventions of all time. We might even say that the printing press is what gave us the Protestant Reformation. It certainly was very important. And yeah, this is the start of a dark period for Eastern Christianity.
Ottoman Turks. Nice job, Ottoman Turks. Oops, you missed a spot. Don't forget to ban Europe from the Indian spice trade. What? That's bullshit, said Portugal, spiceless. Well, I guess we'll have to find another way to India. Wait, said Christopher Columbus, probably smoking crack. If the world is round, let's go this way to India. No, don't worry, we already got this, said Portugal. So Chris goes to Spain. Hey, Spain, want to hire me to find India by going around back of the world? No, please, no, please, no, please. Okay. So he sails into the ocean and discovers more ocean, and then discovers the Indies and Japan. Let's draw a line to decide who gets which half of the world.
Based? The critical thing to underline here is that colonialism began because the Islamic empires, specifically the Ottoman Empire, cut Europeans off from the trade of Asia and India, China, obviously. That was what caused colonization. Before that, the Silk Road connected really all the different kingdoms. It went through the Byzantine Empire. After that, it really hurt the European economy, so they had to find other ways to get to that trade. Part of the reason that the Roman Empire's collapse really saw a decline in wealth in the world is because previously the Romans had kept the Mediterranean safe from piracy. And the Mediterranean is obviously where all the trade happens. So once that became unsafe and all the trade routes became unsafe, that badly hurt the European economies. So that's why during the Middle Ages, a lot of Europe really was not wealthy compared to the Middle East or compared to China, was because they were cut off from the trade routes, and the breadbasket of where they would be getting their money, the Mediterranean, was pirated, especially by Muslims.
The Aztec and Inca empires are off to a great start. I wonder if they know that Europe just discovered their continent. The Habsburgs are marrying into so many royal families they might have to start marrying each other. Move over, Lithuania. Here comes Moscow. Ivan wants to make Russia great again. Move over, Timurids. Maybe go invade India or something. Persia just made Persia Persian again. Let's make it the other kind of Islam.
By the way, the Timurid Empire, that's another... You want to talk about blood-soaked empires? The Timurids, I think they killed more Hindus than any other civilization ever.
The one where we thought the first guy should have been the other guy. Hey Christians, do you sin? Now you can buy your way out of hell. That's bullshit. This whole thing is bullshit. That's a scam. Fuck the church. Here's 95 Reasons Why, said Martin Luther in his new book, which might have accidentally started the Protestant Reformation. You know what would be magnificent, said Suleiman wearing an onion hat? What if...
Yeah, obviously the Reformation, in my opinion, a very, very, very unfortunate moment in history. Dividing Christianity, and then, of course, Protestants dividing themselves with their 10,000 different sects. Very unfortunate moment.
What if the Ottoman Empire was really big, which it is now? What if Russia was big, said Ivan, trying not to be terrible. Portugal had a dream that they controlled the entire Indian Ocean, including the spice trade. And then that dream was real. And Spain realized that this is not India, but they pillaged it anyway. Damn, said England and France. We gotta start pillaging some stuff. Then the Dutch revolt and all the hipsters moved to Amsterdam. Damn, said Amsterdam. We gotta start pillaging some stuff. Question 1, can you get to India through North America? No, but at least there's beaver. Question 2, steal the spice trade. That's not a question, but the Dutch did it anyway.
One thing about the Dutch East India Company is valued, I think, as the richest company ever in human history. So consider that. The Dutch East India Company. And I thought the British East India Company was the richest. No, the Dutch were apparently richer.
Guess where all the sugar's made? In Brazil. Stolen. In the Caribbean. And it's so goddamn profitable you might forget to not do slavery. The next thing on Russia's to-do list is to get bigger. Britain and France are having a friendly discussion about who should control the entire world, more specifically Ohio. Then it escalates into a 7-year discussion, giving Prussia a chance to show Austria who's
7 Years' War, very interesting war. Definitely worth learning about.
boss. But what about Britain and France? Did they figure out who's boss? Yes, they did. It's Britain. Guess who's broke? Also Britain. So they start taxing the hell out of America. Fuck you, says America, declaring their independence and fighting for it. And France helps them win. Now France is broke.
The one thing they didn't mention is how, at the end of the 7 Years' War, France lost, and they lost all of their New World territories. All of their American territories were taken by Britain at the end of that war. So, and this was, this was in the 1760s, the 7 Years' War, 1750s, 60s, somewhere around there. And of course, we know what's coming up, the French Revolution. So France lost all of their colonies, and then they went broke helping the United States declare its independence, which, of course, will lead to the poverty, the misery that will in turn cause a revolution.
And Britain will have to send their prisoners to a different continent. Wait, if France is broke, why do the king and queen still wear such fancy dresses? Cut all their heads off, said Robespierre, cutting everybody's head off until someone eventually got mad and cut his head off. You could make a religion.
And by the way, Freemasons were critical in causing the French Revolution.
No, don't. Haiti is starting to like the idea of a revolution, especially the slaves, who free themselves by killing their masters. Why didn't we think of this before? Wait, who's in charge of France now? Said Napoleon, trying
They didn't think about it before because they got killed every time they tried.
to take over Europe. Luckily, they banished him to an island. But he came back. Luckily, they banished him to another island. There goes Latin America, becoming independent in the
They became independent, of course, because Napoleon occupied Spain, and while Spain was occupied, all of the colonies realized that Spain was dragging them down now, so they declared independence.
Latin American Wars of Independence. Britain just figured out how to turn steam into power, so now they can make many different types of machines and factories with machines in them, so they can make a lot of product.
Only pay for what you need with Liberty Mutual.
And that is, of course, the Industrial Revolution they're talking about.
Looks real fast. Then they invent some trains and conquer India and maybe put some trains there. Hey, China, said Britain, buy stuff from.
That was always crazy to me that Britain conquered all of India. Like, consider that. Consider the logistics it took for a European country to conquer an entire subcontinent in Asia. That is truly a remarkable feat, and in my opinion shows the prowess of the British, which I have some ancestors from, you know.
From us. Nah, dude, we already got everything, says China. So Britain tried to get them addicted to opium, which worked, actually. But then China made it illegal and dumped it all into the sea. So Britain threw a hissy fit and made them open up 5 cities and give them an island. Britain and Russia are playing a game where they try to stop each other from conquering Afghanistan. Also, the Sultan of Oman lives in Zanzibar.
It's around this time that Afghanistan gets the reputation as being a graveyard of empires, because the British Empire tried to conquer it and they got defeated, and it was a fool's errand. And Russia tried to conquer it and it was also a fool's errand. So Afghanistan is really just a bunch of mountains and different tribes. So good luck trying to conquer it. It's more complicated than you might think.
That's just where he lives. India just had a revolution, and they would like to govern themselves now. Nope, said Britain, governing them even harder than before. Technology is about to go crazy. The United States finally figured out whether slavery is good or bad. It's bad, they decided. And then they continued manifesting their destiny, which is to kill the rest of the natives and take their land and maybe kick out the Mexicans too. I know, let's rape Africa.
That's obviously a very anti-American way to look at it. And this, of course, let's rape Africa. I don't think the European empires plan to kill the Africans. I'm sure many of them thought that they were benefiting Africa by colonizing it.
Africa, said Europe, scrambling to see who could rape it the fastest. They never...
They, really, the only European empire that truly was just trying to take everything from Africa, not improve it at all, was like Belgium. I think they were the only ones who really just said, look, we're here to take everything. Just be our slaves. I think the other Europeans at least thought they were civilizing Africa. They didn't see it as too much. Well, of course they wanted stuff, but I think it was a little more nuanced than just, we're going to take everything.
Got Ethiopia. Britain and France are still hungry. They never got Thailand. The United States ran out of destiny to manifest, so they're looking for more. Hawaii, Cuba. Wait, Spain controls Cuba. Well, blame something on them and go to war. What should we blame on Spain? Let's blame the Maine on Spain. So they blame the Maine on Spain. Now we're in business. To celebrate, they kick Panama out of Panama and make a canal, connecting the two oceans. Britain just found oil in the Middle East. It makes cars go. China is so tired of being bossed around that they delete their old government and make a new, stronger government, which is accidentally weaker and controlled by a guy from the previous government. Europe hasn't had a war since the last war, so they start World War I. Look at those.
Yeah, World War I, definitely a dark period of European history, and would end the European empires. It would end a true rivalry between the empires. After that, it was really just Germany standing against everyone.
Those guns. It's going to be a great war. So great we won't need a second one. After it's over, they blame Germany. Russia went on strike and the workers overthrew the government. Now everyone's paycheck is the same. Communism in the Soviet Union. The Arabs revolt and Britain helps. Now the Ottoman Empire's gone, so we can give the Jewish people a place to live. Hopefully the Arabs won't mind. Let's cut the cake, said Sykes.
Yeah, I'm sure the Israel-Palestine situation will never, ever produce a conflict. It will never... I'm sure both sides will get along forever, right?
And Picot carving up the remains of the Nazi...
And this small nation would never take control of the foreign policy of a great superpower, like the United States. Right? That would never happen.
So Ottoman anymore empire? Except Turkey. Turkey makes a brand new Turkey. And then the Saudis conquer Arabia. It just seemed like the right thing to do. Hello? Yes, it's the 1920s calling. Let's get in the car and drive to a party and listen to jazz on the radio and go to the movies. The economy's great and it'll probably be great forever. Just kidding. Germany's back featuring Hitler, the angry mustache model, and he's mad at the Jews for existing. Japan is finally conquering the East and they're so excited.
That's obviously a very oversimplified way to look at it.
They raped Nanking way too hard. They should probably just deny it. Hitler's out of control, so the international community tackles him and tries to explain why killing all the Jews is a bad idea, but he kills himself before they could explain it to him. That's World War II. Bonus round, Pacific Showdown. United States versus Japan. Fight. Finish him. Let's unite all the nations.
2 nukes wasn't enough. But obviously... I disagree with the nuking of Japan. I think I understand why it was done, but it definitely they nuked one of the most Christian cities in Japan, which I simply cannot tolerate.
And have some world peace. Seems legit. Hi, I'm Gandhi, and if Britain doesn't get the hell out of India, I'm going to starve myself in public. Wow, that worked. Bonus, now there's Pakistan. Actually, 2 Pakistans. One of them could be Bangladesh later. The Jews and the Arabs finally figured out which one of them should live in the Holy Land. Me, they both said at the same time. Let's divide up the land so everyone's happy. Psych! They both get angrier. Look out, China. There's a new China in China. What's on the menu? Communism. No thanks, said the other China, escaping to an island. I wonder which one is the real China. There's the Korean War, Korea versus Korea. Nobody wins, then it's on pause forever. Let's meet the sponsors. Oh, it's the 2 global superpowers. They're having a friendly debate over which economic system is good and which one is an evil virus of Satan. And they both have atom bombs. Fight! Wait, no, that would be the end of the world. Let's just keep it cool and spy on each other instead. And make sure we have enough atom bombs. I'll race you to space.
The interesting thing about the Cold War is that it's not as simple as we like to think of it. It really isn't. It's not as simple as communism versus capitalism. Or, white people versus, whatever other ethnicities might have been involved. It was... You had a lot of mixed attitudes on all sides. Let's just put it that way. And communism at the time really, when you compare capitalism of the time to capitalism now, we definitely see how maybe the communists had some points, maybe certain, at least in terms of economics. I think the Westerners could have maybe learned from maybe some more nationalistic kind of economics, as opposed to total free trade, total unshackled corporate power. Whereas, the Soviets were a lot more willing to go to the corporations and say, look, we're going to tell you what to do, actually. You're not going to tell us what to do. I think maybe Americans could have learned something from that. Even though, obviously, take away all the evil anti-Christian policies that the Soviets did, which were clearly bad.
Now let's make some more countries fight themselves. Europe is tired of pillaging other continents, and the continents they were pillaging are tired of being pillaged. So here's a new map with new countries. Now you can't tell who they're being pillaged by. The United States finally decided whether racism is good or bad. They decided it's bad, and the world agrees.
Unless it's against white people.
Africa might need another minute to think about it. Let's check the world population. Whoa. Okay. Technology's better too, that might keep happening. The Soviet Union decides to relax a little and accidentally falls apart. Europe makes a union, so now they can all use the same money, except Britain because they don't feel like it. Let's check the mail. Surprise, it's on the computer.
Yeah, I think this came out before Brexit, so yeah, UK no longer in the European Union.
Whoops, someone just attacked America. I bet they'll remember that. Phone call. Surprise, it's in your pocket. Want to learn everything? Surprise, it's on the computer. Now your phone's a computer, which is in your pocket. Whoops, the economy just crashed. Don't worry, the big banks won't fail because they're not supposed to. Surprise, flying robots. With bombs. Want to print a brain? Some people have no friends. Some people have no food. The globe is warming. And the ocean is full of plastic. Let's save the planet, said everybody, not knowing how. Let's invent a thing inventor, said the thing inventor after being invented by a thing inventor. That's pretty cool. By the way, where the hell are we?
Switch up your routine with Wawa's delicious and
So yeah, that was obviously talking about all the modern inventions, which have certainly had their positives, but also their negatives. Oh, that's the end. But yeah. So that came out in, let's see, May 2017. So not too much has changed since then, at least in terms of technology. See what you guys are saying about all this. They lied about Ethiopia. Did they? Oh yeah, Italy conquered Ethiopia. That's right. Italy conquered Ethiopia. In the 1930s. Absolutely. The computer revolution has been a grave mistake. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I do think I do think the technology, the information that computers allow us to have is generally a good thing. I think the downside is social media and the entire environment that was built around that. The clickbait headlines, the outrage bait, the just low information BS that people are fed is definitely not necessarily a positive. I wonder what the next big tech thing will be. Good question. That will definitely... We're headed probably towards virtual reality. That's one thing that's coming up. It made porn available. That was a mistake. Yes, it was. But the thing is, porn could have been cracked down on if we didn't attach it to free speech. Attaching porn as free speech prevented us from doing anything about it. which was a big effing mistake, to say the least. Let's see what time it is. 9:30? Let me see if there's any PragerU content that is worth a look here. They've really expanded their operations. We've got our black conservatives here. We've got our female conservatives. Let's see. Left or liberal? Why I left the left. I've watched some of these. It's been a while. But before I came to my current understanding of the world, this is the kind of stuff I used to watch. And I'm sure many of you were the same. Let's see, is any of this worth looking at? How socialism ruined my country. There is no gender wage gap. Is Islam a religion of peace? There was one of these I wanted to look at. Let me see if I can find it. Black fathers matter. Yeah, they do. Let's see. Should we watch Black Fathers Matter? I feel like we'll get a community guideline strike. Hold on. A nation of immigrants. They instead of watching this, 6 million people should come watch the PAX Tube. Why America is not a nation of immigrants. There was one of these I wanted to watch. Let me see if I can find it. Newest. Let's see here. Is communism moral? See, this is all they talk about is socialism, communism, Ayn Rand, China. This really shows you what conservatives want you to be thinking about. Socialism, it's socialism. That's what you have to think about. Don't look at the corporations that are buying all the politicians and completely control your government. Yeah, they're literally all about socialism. Celebrating Columbus. Okay, now you're speaking my language. There was one of these. What happened on 9/11? Damn it. I'm not sure where this was. Okay, maybe this. The inconvenient truth about the Democrat Party. Because this is basically Democrats are the real racists, right? That's where they're going with this. Hold on, I haven't been looking at what you guys are saying. Let me see. Low tax is good. Yeah, low tax is good. I don't want to say anything about 9/11 because YouTube has policies, no conspiracy theories, so... Alright, I'll just watch this because this is a directly linked PaxTube topic, okay? I've done this. So let's see what PragerU is saying. Let's see.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. These poetic lines...
Okay, this is Michelle Malkin, at least. She's not a complete open borders person. But this poem was not... this poem she's citing was not even on the original Statue of Liberty. Just saying.
Engraved on a bronze plaque beneath the Statue of Liberty, speak to who we are. A nation...
No.
...of immigrants.
No, we're not.
Until now. As Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer lamented, tears are running down the cheeks of the Statue of Liberty. We've turned our backs on those huddled masses, closed our borders, separated families, hardened our hearts. Or so you would think if you only read the headlines or watch TV news. Just one problem. It's not true. The United States still maintains the most generous immigration policies in the world. Generous to a fault, because the overwhelming numbers have stymied our ability to assimilate the huddled masses. 50 million residents of America are foreign-born. In fact, today the United States has more immigrants as a percentage of its total population than at any time since 1890. That's why, to give one illustration, 176 different languages are spoken among students in the New York City school system.
Can you imagine that? 176 languages? How do you expect to have a functional school system? It's common sense.
We get here? For starters, America grants permanent residence to 1 million people every single year.
Yes, that's not a good thing.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg because of something you've probably heard referred to as chain migration. Chain migration allows immigrants to sponsor not only their immediate family, parents, spouses, and children under age 21, but much of their extended family once they gain citizenship, unmarried adult children, and any children they might have. Married.
This is correct. Chain migration is part of the reason immigration became so out of control in the United States. Because not only can legal immigrants use this, but illegal as well.
Adult children and their children, and brothers and sisters and their children. Princeton University researchers, using the most recently available data, found that immigrants sponsored an average of 3.45 additional relatives each.
And when I say illegal immigrants, I mean the illegal immigrant parents come, they have a child in the United States, and because of birthright citizenship, which was invented by the Supreme Court, child is instantly a citizen, and then when they get older, they can sponsor family members. So that's how the illegal immigration to mass immigration pipeline is perpetuated. Anchor babies into chain migration.
So the 1 million immigrants granted permanent residence each year potentially adds, over time, another 3.5 million. In addition, an estimated 100,000 refugees and asylum seekers, people who claim to be fleeing political or personal strife abroad, enter the country annually. From 2008 to 2017, the U.S. gave green cards to well over 1 million people for humanitarian reasons, allowing them to live and work here permanently. After 5 years, they can apply for full citizenship. We're not done yet. In that same time frame, nearly 500,000 more people came to America through the Diversity Visa Lottery, a program designed to admit more people from underrepresented countries into the U.S. Diversity visa applicants don't need a high school education, job skills, or pretty much anything. And thanks again to chain migration, spouses and unmarried children under 21 of visa lottery winners also get to come to America. This nonstop flow of new legal immigrants, based on family ties instead of skills, abilities, and allegiance to American values, has of course been supplemented by millions who enter the country illegally and stay illegally.
The one thing that's worth mentioning about how immigration has been able to become out of control due to family ties is it's a rather unfortunate part of the 1965 Immigration Act. And what makes it unfortunate was, at the time, you had right-wing people who kind of predicted, once they took off the restrictions on immigration, it used to be limited mainly to whites, they figured they were going to get mass immigration from the whole world, which of course happened. What they hoped was that by limiting it, by increasing family members, that would help keep the country majority white. Because the immigrants who were already here that were majority white would be able to sponsor their family members, and that would keep mainly Europeans coming in. But it actually backfired. And now it's used for, obviously, the Latin American world, Asians, etc., Africans.
Dominant media outlets use the euphemism undocumented, but the official U.S. government term, used in federal statutes, is illegal alien, an unlawful entrant who came without permission and stays in open defiance of our laws. The number of illegal aliens in the country is usually given as 11 million. But have you noticed that number never seems to change? Common sense suggests it's higher, much higher. And
yeah, estimates put it at like 25 or 20, I guess 20 million is the lower estimate of the high estimate. So we could say it's about 20 million. Basically a big problem.
Though illegal aliens themselves don't qualify for welfare, they receive free health care in our clinics and hospitals.
Yes, and they get free education.
And through their American-born children, they can expect to receive all manner of benefits: cash aid, food stamps, and housing vouchers.
Texas in the 80s tried to ban illegal immigrants from getting free education, and another, guess what? Supreme Court said they can't do it. They said illegal immigrant children have a right to education. So that's how that happened. You find throughout our history in America, the Supreme Court is basically the sledgehammer in destroying the country. You'll notice that quite often.
Their children are entitled to a free education in public schools. Building a high-tech border barrier would certainly help stem this flow. Ending chain migration is another obvious remedy. E-Verify, the national database that allows employers to check workers' immigration status, is also essential. So is a fully functioning entry-exit system to track visa overstayers. But all solutions will ultimately fail unless we get control of the numbers and enforce our laws consistently. It's Sovereignty 101. This is our home, and we have not only the right, but the responsibility to determine who comes in, how many come in, and what qualities and qualifications they bring. The truth is, we let in millions, and of course, millions more want to come. Who can blame them? But it's simply not possible or desirable to let in everyone. And it's not hateful to say so. It's not hateful to protect our borders. It's not hateful to protect our citizens. It's not hateful to protect our values. Lady Liberty may be shedding tears, not because we've stopped welcoming immigrants, but because our ill-conceived immigration policies are threatening the American dream. I'm Michelle Malkin, CRTV host and author of Invasion and Sold Out for Prager University.
Huh. Well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. They didn't give too much propaganda. I think they were reasonably fair. But the problem, of course, with that video is they don't talk about what happened before mass immigration. You can't understand the full history of how the United States got to where it is now and why right now is so egregious unless you understand what immigration policies were like before. And before, they had quotas on immigration. You could only allow in a certain number from certain countries. And on top of that, prior to that, immigrants, a lot of them couldn't even get citizenship. They couldn't vote. So you have to factor that in as well. So let's see what you guys are saying. This video gave you cancer. Yeah. They definitely messed up by not giving the background. You have to give the background or people are not going to understand why we are truly not a nation of immigrants. Let's see what the comments are saying. Mr. Beat apparently did a response. Gotta watch it before YouTube removes it. Well, they have not. I was brought here as an illegal immigrant child, and I would 100% agree with this. I didn't choose to come here, but I did go through the process, and I pledged allegiance to this country. What process did you go through? Last time I was this early, Alex Jones was still on the internet, yeah. Oh yeah, this came out right as Alex Jones got banned. That would explain that. Watch an Israel video. Yeah. I guess I could. That'll be the last video I watch. Let's see. PragerU Israel. Israel. Oh, here we go. Why don't you support Israel? Why does America spend so much on Israel? This is the infamous... Which one of these should I watch? Their IDF showing is amazing. I don't know. It's one of these two. I guess this. Let's see.
Stop what you're doing because I have an incredibly important question for you. Do you know what the political stance of your dentist is on voting?
Why do we spend so much money on Israel?
Before we even start, check this. Check this out. Let's get a zoom in on that right there.
Over my decades of military service, as the Deputy Commander of the United States European Command, and now as a security advisor, I've often heard people make this complaint. The truth is, we don't spend enough. We should spend more, and for
just stop with this. Come on.
Purely selfish reasons. Every dollar we spend on Israel is a dollar spent, in effect, in our own defense. As a value proposition, it's all in America's favor. Let me explain. But before I do, let me just say this. I can easily defend why America supports Israel on moral grounds alone.
Oh, yeah. Let me guess, they have the largest gay pride parade. Are you going to use that?
I've been there on numerous occasions. It's a good and decent country. Given the neighborhood it lives in, I find that both remarkable and admirable.
I mean, I don't find these countries to be much worse in terms of morality than Israel, to be honest.
But I will make this argument solely on the basis of America's security. Our partnership with Israel is unique. Unlike most of our current treaty alliances, say with South Korea, our ties with Jerusalem are not premised on American troops serving as tripwires on Israel's front lines. This is because Israel takes care of itself.
Yeah, well, we don't need to send military because they get billions. I don't think we send South Korea even half as much as we send Israel. Oops, double click.
America, for good reason, remains wary of any further military engagement in the Middle East. And this only strengthens the case for
Really? Do we? Do we remain wary? I think we're going to war. We're still there in Afghanistan. And Biden is flirting with Syria. So, and if Israel had their way, we would be going to war. So,
giving Israel the tools it needs to defend its borders. Here are 3 things we can do. Again, all in our own self-interest. First,
Really?
The United States should front-load its financial commitment to Israel. We have agreed to provide Israel $38 billion in defense assistance over 10 years. That's a big number, but it's also a great deal for America. In addition to giving Israel the financial wherewithal to purchase the weapons it needs, it also benefits the American economy.
Really? Really? That's a bold claim.
Under the agreement, Israel must spend these funds on U.S. products, and it's happy to do so. Without adding a cent to the total, the United States should front-load this assistance to reflect the changing strategic situation in the Middle East, specifically the rising danger presented by Iran and its proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas.
Oh, yeah. I don't think these have anywhere near enough power to threaten Israel.
An accelerated timetable would allow Israel to acquire critical capabilities like more F-35 attack squadrons, more refueling tankers, and more precision munitions. It will need this hardware to defend itself in American interest against those persistent and growing threats.
What is America's interest, and how is Israel defending it?
Second, the United States should enhance our alliance with Israel. It may surprise you to know that the United States does not have a defense treaty with this essential ally. Lots of agreements, but no treaty. We should. Why is this important? Because it will send a loud strategic signal to Israel's enemies that if you mess with Israel, you mess with us. Israel is not going to ask us for troops, but we should be giving them anything else they need: intelligence, weapons technology, and other.
They're not going to ask us for troops. They're going to they're going to ask us to attack their enemies.
Other vital information. And we know this is a two-way street. Israel gives a lot in return, which leads me to the third point. The United States and Israel should build on their already close collaboration in research and development. Israel is one of the most high-tech economies in the world. American investors understand this. More venture capital is spent per capita in Israel than in any other country. 9 out of the 10 largest companies have R&D facilities there. This is in a country of just 8 million people. When we sell them military gear, they adapt it to their own special needs. The American military, in turn, benefits from these innovations, especially in the area of desert warfare.
Are you telling me that America can't innovate its own technology? Well, honestly, frankly, with the way these diversity programs are going, I wouldn't be surprised if America can't innovate anymore. But that means that's an argument for changing America, not for paying Israel.
Indeed, President Obama's Defense Secretary, Ashton Carter, made this point. There's no question that American lives have been saved by Israeli technology. There are many cutting-edge projects we can work on together, such as directed energy weapons. This new form of cannon emits highly focused energy to neutralize targets. Such weapons will be needed to counter the spread of cheap, deadly, and plentiful mortars and drones from Iran and other bad actors. All this explains why I find it so infuriating to see Americans, especially young Americans, support anti-Israel groups like BDS, Boycott, Divest, Sanction, that want to weaken and destroy Israel. Putting aside the perverse logic of these groups that we should punish a free and open democracy, it's self-destructive. Israel is on the front.
Notice, he doesn't mention why they want to do that. He doesn't mention how Israel commits basically pogroms against the Palestinians and how they're occupying land that was pledged to the Palestinians. He doesn't mention why BDS is a thing. That's very interesting.
Front line of terror. They, not us, are within missile range of Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, and Hamas. To the extent these enemies of freedom are held in check, they are held in check by Israel.
I don't think they're enemies of freedom, to be honest. I don't think Iran is a threat to my freedom. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you think Iran is a threat to your freedom. I personally do not.
And they ask from us not one U.S. soldier, only for military aid, which they spend on American defense products to help defend American interests. We should give them that aid without reservation. Sure, it costs us treasure, but it saves us blood, our blood. It's also the right thing to do. I'm General Chuck Wald, United States Air Force, for Prager University.
I am not convinced. Are you guys convinced? Yeah, you don't look very convinced. I don't blame you. Enemies of freedom. Yeah, they're enemies of, like, you know, LGBT, enemies of... Yeah. Exactly. Palestine has a Christian population. They deserve better. Check the comments. Yeah. Let's see the comments. PragerU, government shouldn't invest into the economy. Also, PragerU, we should give billions to the Israeli government so they can spend it on U.S. products. Don't ask what you can do for your country, but what you can do for Israel. Yeah, I think America should spend more money on their own people than anybody else. What are you, an anti-Semite? Yep, it's boomer time. It's boomer time. Let's see. I feel a sudden urge to subvert my host nation. Here's an America Firster. So you America Firsters in the chat, you've got your guy. Very interesting recommended section. Noam Chomsky. But I think that about does it for tonight. I'm tired. I need to get some food. Let me just... Yeah, so... Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I have many plans for the future videos, particularly with some media analyses, some anime analyses, and some history reviews. I think history is a great subject we can lean into. Thank you everyone who has shared the content Thank you everyone who has, of course, watched and liked and commented. That all helps the algorithm. I have a Discord server that if you're interested in joining, I'll vet you and get you in. Yep, good night. I will see you all in the next video. God bless and good night.